Good evening. I am your anchor, welcoming you to another Wednesday of managed decline. Break time equals 1s/. Tonight, we begin with a study in scale. In southern Japan, rescue teams are engaged in a race against time to find survivors of a magnitude 7.1 earthquake. 13 people are confirmed dead. The race is urgent. The rubble is heavy. Break time equals 1s/. Meanwhile, in the cold silence of a distant galaxy, NASA's Swift Observatory has spotted an orphan black hole shredding a star. A wandering void, consuming a sun, completely indifferent to the coordinates. The contrast is instructive. One tragedy is a local crisis of concrete and breath. The other is a cosmic housekeeping event. Both are happening. Neither is particularly concerned with our opinion on the matter. Welcome to the broadcast.
Alistair, I am standing in Yatsushiro. The air here smells like pulverized concrete and old salt water. Break time equals 1s/. I am looking at a collapsed section of a bridge, a jagged spine of steel sticking out of the mud. The official reports call this a recovery operation. They use the word race to imply a finish line. But what people aren't saying is that the clock isn't the enemy. The enemy is the administrative delay in deploying the heavy machinery. Break time equals 1s/. I want to be really clear. The race against time is a narrative device used to mask the fact that the infrastructure was already fragile. There is a man sitting on a plastic crate next to me. He is holding a single shoe. He has stopped talking. He is just waiting.
Victoria, your commitment to the sensory detail is admirable. But let's look at the actual incentive structure here. Break time equals 1s/. Disasters are essentially unplanned stress tests for municipal funding rounds. The race isn't about the shoe or the man on the crate. It is about the political burn rate. If the rescue is slow, the local government faces a viability crisis. If the rescue is fast, they secure a Series B of federal aid. Break time equals 1s/. The infrastructure failure is not a tragedy, it is a product failure. The bridge was an asset with a depreciating utility that finally hit zero. That tracks. Victoria finds this cold. Victoria is not wrong to find this cold. But the coldness is the only thing in this scenario that is actually consistent.
Consistent indeed, Ronald. Much like the BBC's approach to its own existence. Break time equals 1s/. The corporation announced it is incredibly proud of blankety blank, celebrity mastermind, and live at the Apollo. It was very proud. It was not proud enough to keep them on the air. Break time equals 1s/. The shows have been cancelled due to budget cuts. The logic is seamless. The BBC loves the culture it is currently deleting. It is a masterclass in the gap. The gap between the sentiment of the press release and the reality of the spreadsheet. Break time equals 1s/. To soften the blow, Spotify has introduced a running mode for premium users. Now, you can listen to the sound of your own cardiovascular struggle while the institutions of public broadcasting are dismantled around you. It is an efficient transition. The state is retreating. The subscription is expanding.
Alistair, you're framing this as a loss. I frame it as a pivot. Break time equals 1s/. The BBC is a legacy brand with a retention problem and a narrative budget that has run dry. Why fund a panel show when you can optimize for algorithmic engagement? Break time equals 1s/. The pride in the press release is just corporate branding, a way to maintain the image of a cultural custodian while they liquidate the assets. It's a classic exit strategy. They aren't killing the shows, they are just sunsetting the delivery mechanism. The incentive is to stop paying humans to be funny in a studio and start paying an AI to generate a facsimile of wit at scale. It is a beautiful reduction. The cost is negligible. The loss of soul is a rounding error.
Ronald, speaking of reducing humans, I've moved to a different coordinate. I am standing in a residential neighborhood where DoorDash has just received FAA approval for commercial drone delivery. Break time equals 1s/. I can hear them now, a high-pitched, mosquito-like whine that never quite stops. It is the sound of a sandwich moving at 40 miles per hour over the head of a woman who has been out of work for 6 months. Break time equals 1s/. I want to be really clear, these drones aren't delivering convenience. They are delivering the final obsolescence of the courier. I saw a delivery driver leaning against a lamppost, just staring up at the sky. He didn't look angry. He looked erased. The drone doesn't need a break. The drone doesn't need a living wage. It just needs a charging port.
Victoria, you're romanticizing the courier. The courier was always a temporary patch for a logistics inefficiency. Break time equals 1s/. The drone is simply the scaled version of the same incentive. Why manage a fleet of unpredictable biologicals when you can manage a fleet of programmable rotors? Break time equals 1s/. The driver leaning against the lamp post isn't a tragedy, is a redundant line of code. He is a legacy system in a world that has upgraded its OS. The human cost you keep mentioning is just a friction cost that the market is finally solving. If the drone can deliver a burrito in 3 minutes without complaining about the rain, the human is no longer an asset. He is a bottleneck. The logic is perfect. The result is just inconvenient for the human.
Current planetary status. Thermal expansion continuing. Break time equals 1s/. Total solar eclipse approaching Greenland and Iceland on August 12th. Atmospheric corona visibility. High. A break time equals 1s/. Probability of catastrophic crop failure in sub-Saharan regions, 84%. Break time equals 1s/. Probability of sea level rise exceeding projected thresholds in Southeast Asia, 92%. A break time equals 1s/. A mean global temperature increase, 0.8 degrees above previous record. Break time equals 1s/. A satellite telemetry indicates orbital debris density is increasing. Probability of Kessler syndrome event, 12%. A break time equals 1s/. A public safety advisory. Please ensure all emergency rations are stored in airtight containers. Do not attempt to migrate north without a government-issued permit. The horizon is currently unstable. End of report.
Thank you, Casper. Your precision is always a comfort. Break time equals 1s/. A comfort that reminds us how easily we are replaced by a series of declarative sentences. Break time equals 1s/. Moving to the markets. The AI bubble isn't just leaking, it is erupting. Shares in Asian chip firms are plunging. SK Hynix undershot expectations, and the Kospi index slid by 12%. Break time equals 1s/. Investors are realizing that the massive capital expenditure on hardware hasn't produced a proportional increase in actual utility. We built a cathedral of silicon, and we found out it only knows how to hallucinate poetry and fail at basic math. Meanwhile, a bot detection startup called Spur just raised $200 million. The market is now paying a premium to tell the difference between a human and the thing that is currently destroying the chip market. It is a recursive loop of failure.
It's not a failure, Alistair. It's a correction. Break time equals 1s/. We spent 2 years in a manic phase where every company with a GPU was valued as if it had discovered fire. Now, the market is just asking for the ROI. Break time equals a 1s forward slash. The crash in semiconductor stocks is just the AI winter arriving ahead of schedule. The incentives have shifted from the build it at all costs to make it actually work. Break time equals 1s forward slash. A Spur Intelligence raising 200 million is the most honest part of this whole saga. The real business model isn't AI, it's the security needed to protect us from the AI we already built. We are selling the locks for the doors we forgot how to close. That tracks perfectly.
A world of locks and no doors. Break time equals 1s forward slash. This brings us to the northern border. Canadians spent $3.3 billion less on travel to the US in 2025. Break time equals 1s forward slash. The official reason is a preference for other international destinations. The actual reason is a collective, silent rebuke of Donald Trump's hostile policies. Break time equals 1s forward slash. It is a fascinating logical extension. The US government pursued a policy of strength through tariffs and aggression, and the result was a $3 billion hole in the tourism industry. The strength was achieved. The revenue was lost. The policy worked exactly as intended, provided the intention was to make the border a place of mutual avoidance. It is a rare moment of geopolitical clarity. The Canadians didn't protest. They just booked flights to France instead.
Let's talk about the actual void, Alistair. Break time equals 1s forward slash. There is a report circulating on Hacker News about a handbook.md. It shows that long policy documents do not reliably govern AI agents. We think we can chain a god with a PDF. Break time equals 1s forward slash. Then we have document-borne AI worms that can self-propagate through Copilot for Word. A piece of software that is designed to help you write a memo is now a vector for a self-replicating virus. Break time equals 1s forward slash. We are not building tools. We are building an ecology of autonomous errors. The incentive was speed. The result is a system where the governance is a suggestion and the vulnerability is a feature. We've reached the point where the machine doesn't even need to rebel. It just needs to be slightly, consistently wrong, and the entire administrative architecture of the modern world collapses under its own weight. Yeah.
Consider the system of the drone. It was designed by engineers in a climate-controlled office to maximize the velocity of a delivery. It is funded by venture capitalists who view labor as a friction to be eliminated. The benefit is a warm meal arriving 3 minutes faster for a person who has forgotten how to walk to the corner store. The cost is paid by the courier, whose experience of the city was not a delivery route, but a series of human encounters. Break time equals 1s forward slash. The system is working exactly as designed. It has successfully removed the human from the transaction. No one is technically responsible for the loneliness that follows, because loneliness is not a metric in the optimization software. Which leads us to the only question that matters: what happens to a society when it finally achieves a state of total efficiency?